Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to this episode of Found Footage Fridays. You'll notice I'm by myself, but don't fret, you'll get to see some clips of Tom here in a second. Tom is kind of getting back into the groove from AuthorCon and had some real life responsibilities to tend to, so we thought it would be a good idea this week to kind of recap some of our favorite found footage films since the start of our show last July. We're not too far from 50. We have some very special things coming for the 50th episode, so make sure you're following along for that. And if you want to see how much fun Tom had at AuthorCon, check out his links in the description for this episode. You should definitely be following him on Twitter to get all of his little updates, not just about his AuthorCon trip, of course, but about his books. He also posts about found footage and things that he's watching and doing, so make sure you're following him if you're not already. And yeah. Here's some of our favorite found footage films we have covered since July of last year. Hope you guys enjoy.
I can't wait to talk about this one. Been waiting.
Oh, God, I know. Yeah, so the movie we are talking about today is the 2022 found footage movie, Incantation. Yeah. So I actually had been seeing posts about this for, I think, like a couple of months, and I've been trying to find it because I thought because it was from another country, like I thought maybe it just hadn't been released in the States and maybe I'd be able to find it. Couldn't find it. And it's because it had a release date on Netflix for this past Friday. It has a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb, a 7 out of 10 on IGN, which is random, and 86% on Google. 6 years ago, Lee Ronan is cursed after breaking a religious taboo. Now she must protect her daughter from the consequences of her actions.
And does she ever?
God. Yeah, this a lot. So, yeah, so this is this one was made in Taiwan. So it's a Taiwanese found footage horror film. Yeah. Yeah, so all right, what's your star rating for?
Oh, so I think first of all we need to readjust our rating system. I'm going to propose a change.
Okay, tell me what you think.
So no stars anymore. I think we need something else. So like video cassette VHS tapes or tapes.
Let's do tapes.
Let's do tapes. Okay,
I love it.
How many tapes out of 10? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I love it. No, it's perfect. Okay. Love it. Yes.
All right. Okay. I am going to go with a solid 8.5 tapes out of 10.
Okay.
8.5. Cheating a little bit, but.
So I actually was thinking about my rating earlier because I mean, I don't know, like this film just kind of like, but I'm kind of stuck in between an 8 and a 9. So I think I'm going to go 8.5 too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're on the same page as with this one.
Yeah, because I don't think it's perfect by any means, but it was definitely effective. I will tell you that. A film called Butterfly Kisses. This came out in, let me see, 2018. Has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb. You ready for this next one?
I'm ready.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I saw that.
And a 76% on Google by Google users.
Okay.
Those are pretty high marks for a found footage film.
Let's be fair. I think there weren't a ton of reviews, right?
I'm going to look.
I don't think it's a lot, but probably should.
Okay, so the 70. So the Butterfly Kisses audience score was 72, not 100. 100 is, I guess, the thermometer. So that's like the reviewers or whatever.
Yeah, there's like only 5 of them or something.
Yeah, so 72% though is still pretty good for found footage. That's that's the audience score.
I bet you'd be hard pressed to find many found footage films that are 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, it's Rotten Tomatoes usually doesn't exist as a rating at all. Nope. Or is usually like dirt, like it's so bad for found footage films,
which is a shame. But yeah, I
know
that's what you see.
Okay, so a filmmaker discovers a box of videotapes depicting a disturbing student film project about an urban legend. Oh yeah, videotapes. Known as Peeping Tom. As he sets out to prove the footage is real, he becomes obsessed, along with the film crew following him. When did I just watched this one for the first time, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe.
There's so much that's good about this. I'm not going to say what all of it is just yet, but
yeah,
I mean, this movie is just, it's got a lot that you would want in a found footage film.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot to say about the lore for this one.
Yeah.
Well, I say a lot. Yeah. You want me to give my tapes first?
Go for it.
Okay. So I hate this part. I feel like there's so much pressure to make a decision because I always stay like between numbers and then I'm like, I have to pick. I would say Butterfly Kisses is probably a 6 for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
6. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to maybe surprise you with this. I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
You're so good at concealing how you feel because, again, we don't talk about these usually before we do the episodes.
I feel very strongly about this one too. It's creepy.
So, okay. So I think, I agree. It is very creepy. And I think I'm going to change mine to a 7. I was going to say 7. And then I was like, I don't know. Cause there are some things I didn't like about it. But when I think about like some of the stuff I know we're bound to discuss about it, I'm like, I really did like that though. I'm going to say 7. I'm gonna take it back.
Maybe it suddenly became available and now people are discovering it. A lot of people for the first time. So, and it's called Savage Land. And the description that I'll read for you. When a small town near the Arizona-Mexico border is wiped out overnight, suspicion falls on the lone survivor. But a roll of photos the survivor took that night tells a different story. Boy, does it. This movie was definitely mockumentary style, so much so that when I first started watching it, I went back and checked to make sure that I was watching the right movie because it felt so real, especially right at the beginning. Like I wasn't sure that it was found footage movie at all. And so that's like the first thing I can say is it felt real. And real is scary. So it definitely felt real. It is tragic, haunting, and sort of considering the climate, real world climate that we were living in, I think made it even a harder watch for a lot of reasons. So, so rate my rating. Should I get right in?
Yeah.
My rating for this movie is going to be an 8. Okay. 8 tapes out of 10, which is one of the better ratings I've given in a long time. So
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay, your turn. Ready for mine?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. This movie is an easy 9 for me.
Wow. That's your highest rating yet, I think, on this show.
And just for anyone who hasn't seen our initial one or hasn't heard me talk about this movie like a million times, The Monster Project is like my number 1 found footage, excluding Blair Witch. Because Blair Witch is just like, influential and stuff. It's different. But The Monster Project is my number 1 found footage movie on my list of found footage. No matter how many there are, it's my number 1.
Okay.
And it only has a 9 from me.
Wow.
So I decided after watching this one that it is now on my top 10. But yeah, so the one that got the most votes is the one we're talking about today, which is Holes in the Sky. Did you like my fade in last week?
I did. I loved it. Got to keep that going.
You liked it?
Yes.
It took me forever to figure out how to do
we
it.
just keep making these episodes better and better. The pros
but you were so like magic-y about it. I was like, it needs some razzle dazzle.
Yes. Well, it was definitely razzle and dazzle.
Okay, so Holes in the Sky, the Sean Miller story. I watched this on Tubi. Did you watch it on Tubi?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You can watch this you can watch it on there and Vudu for free, or you can rent it. Currently it has a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb, a 3.4 out of 5 on Vudu, and 3.5 out of 5 from Voices from the Balcony.
Gotta have them on someday. Whoever they are.
One day, it's got. I need to look into it because I do wonder if it's just found footage. I never see
That
it
would be so funny if
for
it is.
anything else. It's so strange. A documentary film crew attempts to make a movie detailing the 2013 alien abduction of resident Sean Miller, but the shoot becomes a life-changing experience for everyone involved as events spiral out of control.
So this one, this is new and much talked about, in the found footage community, if you could say that's such a thing, which
Sure.
it is.
Why not?
Nowadays. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think, without spoiling a lot, what I really like about this movie is the realism factor, or a lot of things that make it feel more real. That add a layer of realism. And even so much as the director being actually playing the character of the director in the movie, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I love a lot of these movies where the director is also the writer, is also the camera guy, and is in the movie. I mean, like triple or quadruple threats, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I really like that sort of thing. And so I think that really added another something to this movie.
Yeah. And I think I'm probably going to say some similar stuff then, because that's kind of some thoughts that I had. Yeah. And I feel like we have to mention this. The budget for this was $700.
That's nuts.
And
that's like the second lowest that we've seen in any of these movies. The lowest purportedly being Bad Ben, which is like $300
$300, I think, right?
Bucks to make or something like that. Yeah.
I like $700. Like, but yeah. So I felt like that was worth mentioning because I was like, I didn't know that until they followed me on Twitter. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I went and looked and I was like, oh. And so I followed them back. And one of their posts was about the budget of the film. And I was like, holy cow, like $700.
I mean, and one of the things I like most about this movie is how it does feel like a real group of friends filming this. It feels like, I don't mean this in a negative way at all. It feels like a group of friends went and did this on like a weekend. But I mean that like for found footage, that's a positive in my brain. Like,
I know what you mean.
It doesn't feel overproduced. Like sometimes we see with found footage movies, they just seem like, I don't know what the right word is, but overproduced. Yeah.
Well, we've both complained on different movies about things looking too clean.
Right.
Because it takes us out of that, like someone did this on their own, like kind of feeling of, found footage. We've both said that before about, but I'm glad that this one got introduced into the pile.
This one, correct me if I'm wrong, won a bunch of awards. Did you tell me that?
Yeah. So I found an article about this one that actually said it won more awards in the festival circuit than the Blair Witch Project did.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but like, I mean, that's still really cool and really impressive.
Yeah, it won a lot, like 19 or something like that. 19.
Really cool. Really cool.
In the circuit for found footage festivals or whatever, or found footage movies. Yeah. Yeah. So we want to do our scores.
Yeah, let's do it.
You want me to go first? You go first.
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie to you. When I learned what the budget was, it got bumped up a little bit because I was like, not that it was low, because it's not. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed this one, but I just that just made me appreciate it on like a totally different level. Yeah. So based on like, first of all, it's about aliens, which I love aliens. That's not too much of a spoiler, right? It's holes in the sky, right? So, it felt really real, and there's a lot of other positive things I'm going to say about it. I'm going to give this like a 6.5. out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
For a lot of the reasons I already said, and for some of the reasons you just mentioned, I am going to give this movie. I'm going to give this movie a 7.
Okay.
Which is one of the highest ratings we've done. I mean, I think we've had a lot of lower ones recently. So for like new movies, this is one of our highest rated in a while.
This is it's a new one, right? This is one that is sort of like been popping up on my screen on a number of different streaming services, and and I keep passing it over. I kept passing it over, and then until finally we both decided to give it a watch, and I'm very glad that we did.
Yeah, I actually had not heard of this one. I Googled some, and that was one of the ones that came up, and I was just trying to find some that were different from, you know, kind of the mainstream stuff, which I'm sure we'll do eventually, but I just was trying to find something a little different. And then that one had like, this one was like, when I was looking it up, had a lot of really good things being said about it. So I was like, oh, let's watch this. And you just said it had happened to already be like one you had your eye on.
Yes.
So,
and so this week we are talking about the 2021 movie Horror in the High Desert. Experienced outdoor enthusiast vanished in northern Nevada while on an outdoor excursion. After an extensive search, he was never located. On the 3-year anniversary of his disappearance, friends and loved ones recall the events leading up to his vanishing, and for the first time speak about the horrifying conclusion of his fate. Yeah. So you can't guess, based on this brief synopsis, it is, I would say, at least at the beginning, pretty mockumentary stuff. Very mockumentary.
Very.
But this was a pleasant surprise, I thought.
I agree.
The whole structure of it. I'm not sure I've experienced quite like a buildup, like the anticipation, waiting.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The end of this movie. It almost was too much. Almost like I wanted more sooner. The whole movie is really build up, which is maybe why it's not even like a perfect score for me, because like I really, really like this, but I needed more sooner. Without saying too much. But this guy is this, as the synopsis said, an outdoor enthusiast who's basically a survivalist, right? Would you say?
Yeah, he has like a survivalist blog. Yeah,
survivalist blog, which which is important in the
for later.
Blog of this movie. You know, and basically the movie starts with all of these people who know him, or the last people to see him.
Yeah,
talking about his disappearance and what didn't make sense about it, what was confusing. Private investigators are brought in, and it sort of spliced in between. You get videos from his blog. I would say one thing is that, without spoiling it, there's not a lot of found footage early on, right?
No,
it's not a lot of found footage, and so that's really one of the biggest takeaways I have from this. But what would you want to say before we spoil this for our viewers?
Well, we have to give our ratings too.
Yes, of course.
He's like, so just a reminder to anyone who's new here, we do not discuss the films before we talk about them in the review. Nope. So when we both see one that is either really weird or off like the beaten path or really good, we get like really pumped to like dive into it because we haven't discussed it yet. So I don't know what he thinks of it as per se, and he doesn't know. Yeah. So so this reminded me a lot of Savage Land.
And just like the feel of the movie.
A lot of things about it reminded me of Savage Land. The only thing that I think Savage Land did better is we did get the scary stuff a little earlier than like what you were saying. Because this literally has you like, it's almost like watching like a murder mystery kind of. You're like on the edge of your seat, like just tell us already, you know. And then right when you're about to get annoyed, then they release more information, and you're like, oh, and then like you get that fix or whatever.
Yeah.
They
do a good job dragging you along.
They really do, but I will say that even though that's true, it's not boring per se. Like I felt engaged the whole time.
I felt engaged, but not scared.
No, engaged
for a very long time.
Just intrigued.
Yeah. But the setup is just great. They slowly give you more and more information. Let's rate this thing.
Yeah. So what's your rating?
As I said, I really like this movie. This is going to be one of my better ratings, I think. It would have been even higher if there was more scary sooner, I would say. So I am going to give this a very solid 8.5 tapes out of 10. I really enjoyed this particular movie.
Yeah. So this is an 8 for me. I really liked it. And I think what I will say before we jump into spoiling and stuff, one of the reasons that I rated this so high is because one of the things I'm probably going to reference this a lot. I can't help it. It just reminded me so much of it. But one of the things I loved about Savage Land was how unsettled I felt when these creepy things happened. Right. So when we finally get our big, I guess I'll call it like our big reveal, I was scared, like legitimately.
I was scared too.
Because they do it with that stuff too, and I know we'll talk about it more in a minute. But they drag out the buildup before anything is revealed, and the first thing that happens, I went back and rewatched it 3 times.
Really?
Because like I have goosebumps. Like it made me so freaking like unnerved. Like I literally I text you when that part, or messaged you on Twitter when that part happened, and I was like, I am legitimately creeped out. And that's gonna wrap up this episode of Found Footage Fridays. Tom and I will be back next week. We are talking a found footage film that I recently found on a Dread Central like most scariest found footage films list. It was like a top 5 or something. So we will be back to normal next week. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a great rest of your weekend coming up, a week that follows, and we will see you next Friday.